This mind-blowing story about an exhausted girl fed up with the burden of work, as Midori has been given overtime and hasn't slept.
疲れた。今月残業やばすぎでしょ。早く帰って寝なきゃ。
She wants to go straight to bed and rest. Her shivering legs and tiring looks reveal how she has suffered this month. At last, she has reached home and is a few steps away from the bed. Unfortunately, she fell to the ground because her legs refused to support her weight. She has realized she is going to die, and it hurts her a lot because her life hasn't given her a chance to say goodbye to her parents. Just then, her soul departs from her body, and tears are shed from her eyes.
誰にも見とられることもなく、両親に別れの挨拶だって。やだよ。
At this moment, she is repenting of dying like this because there is no one around her. This time is lucky for her because God has granted her wish. In exchange, she needs to do something for God. With a shocked face, Midori inquires what she needs to do. God smiles and reveals Dylan's world, where humans are persecuting other people on the basis of species. Her task is to figure out whether humans should be wiped out. Listening to this, she is scared to death and denies doing the task. But God is aware of her weakness and assures her that he will give her power by reincarnating her. This sounded good, and she expressed her passion for fluffy things. She even wanted to tame her parents' cat, whom she loves most. So her only desire is to remain with fluffy animals who can take her weariness away. Observing her so much interest in fluffy things, God has decided to bestow her power related to animals. Also, he has reincarnated her without her permission. After that, she opens her eyes in the grand house, where her parents and siblings are pleased to see a cute girl. Little Midori is shunned because she is unable to move or speak up. The only thing she can do is listen to them. Just then, her mother performs magic and gives her the name Nefertima. 3 years later, Néma, her nickname, talks about her family. Néma was raised in the ducal family of Opshe as a third-born child, and Néma is happy with her gentlemanly brother Ralph and her cute older sister Kanadia. Both are wishing her a happy third birthday. Her brother Ralph has brought flowers, and Kanadia shows fireworks as a celebration. Not only this, Néma has plenty of animals she needs to go meet to feel their fluffiness. She runs to the animal and is about to fall due to a hurdle before she falls and gets hurt. Her pet dog, Dee, was always there to protect her. Also, her parents take a breath of relief from seeing their beloved daughter safe. On the other hand, Néma feels like she is in heaven because so many animals and birds surround her, but they are too many and difficult to handle. Soon, she realized she shouldn't tame too many animals. Still, she is happy in their company after some time. Néma's mother is anxious because she is called to the royal palace. Her husband is not at home, and Ralph and Kanadia are in the academy, so no one can take care of Néma. She had no option except to take her to the royal palace. Before taking Néma, she warns her to be a good girl, as Néma is going outside for the first time. In excitement, she responds positively, and they move to the royal palace. Going there, she looks at the people's faces, and there is no clue of persecution. Arriving here, she casts a protection spell on her and asks her not to go anywhere. As soon as her mother moves to do her duty, she looks at the bird and chases it. She has run away, forgetting her mother's warning not to go anywhere. Chasing the birds, she has arrived at the garden here, attracted by Néma, squirrels, and other animals. They start loving her, and her heart is pounding with happiness. Just then, furious but lovely eyes can be seen from the bushes, feeling a strange presence. All the animals have vanished, and Néma diverts her attention to this animal. This is not a common animal because he is a sky tiger. Despite being scared, she has fallen for Sky Tiger, a beast, and she should keep a distance from him. Meanwhile, another shocking thing happens when Sky Tiger licks her. It reveals that Sky Tiger is obsessed with this little girl. Also, Néma gets closer to him and feels his fluffiness, which has taken her to another world. At the same time, Sky Tiger is seated, which is a sign that she can ride on him. It's strange because the beast allows a little girl to sit on him without any fear. She seizes the opportunity and sits on his back. Sky Tiger takes her to the master, who is a prince. Prince is surprised to see a little girl on his Lars because, except for him, he never gets attached to anyone. Also, he worries about this little girl, who has easily trusted the beast and has no fear. Prince warns her, and Néma's attention diverts to him. For a second, she was mesmerized by his beauty, and he held her in his hand. Watching herself in this prince's arms, she gets annoyed. Néma continuously asks him to get her down, but Prince is enjoying her resistance. And to enrage her, He puts her on his shoulder. As a result, Néma has started yelling and moving her hands and legs like crazy. Prince has gotten his play toy and wants to enjoy it more. But Lars takes her from his lord and puts her down. It's shocking for Prince because Lars has never been friendly with her. This time the prince is impressed with this girl and inquires about her parents having left her alone. She tries to clear up his misunderstanding so that she isn't lost. But Prince is not in the mood to listen to her and take her to her father. Riding on the Sky Tiger's back, she is moving to the royal palace. Reaching King's library, she runs to her father. Her father is astonished to see her daughter here. Even he is worried about her. But Prince becomes a hero by saying he has saved Néma, who was lost in the forest. Listening to this, she is annoyed because she was never lost. Her father hugs her and can imagine her loneliness. And in the forest, in reality, the situation is adverse because she can take care of herself. But no one can convince them. Also, her father thanks him for saving her daughter by calling him Prince. Listening to this, she is shocked because she considers him a brute. But he has turned into a prince. Never mind. She has decided to call him Brute Prince. Just then, King himself introduces him to this cute girl. And she has also realized that if this brute young man is a prince, he is king. So she has decided to use all her charm to keep the king on her side. She gives her introduction charmingly and wins the heart of the king. Even the king has allowed her to come to the royal palace again. Listening to this, her heart is jumping with happiness. But still, there is a mother whose anger she has to tolerate. Her mother is resentful because she hasn't obeyed her order. To cheer her mood up, Néma mentions the king's approval to come here again. Hearing this, she calms down, and Néma expresses her happiness to meet with Lars again. Her mother advises her to avoid meeting with Lars alone because he is a beast and he can do anything with her. Also, she tells her about Sky Tiger, who gets power from divine power. The energy they use is called elementalism. On the other hand, humans take power from their mana, so she should be careful when Sky Tiger is around her without giving her mother a sign of understanding. She runs to D, and her mother is worried about her because the animals are fond of her, and even Lars loves her company. Later, she is taken to the magnificent academy, where her eldest study takes place. As her father is Duke, she is given special treatment before she creates another trouble. Her mother again warns her to stick with her and asks her to hold her hand. Her parents ask to sit in a special seat to watch the competition. This ground is in front of them, created with the magic of teachers. She is impressed with the competition grounds. The first round is between Ralph and his competitor. His personality makes Néma scared because he can beat her brother. With a confusing face, she is looking at the match. Both have soldiers and magic master wands in their hands. Getting started in the competition, Ralph and his rival start a fight. Luckily, Ralph proves dominant because he has knocked down his rival. Watching this, she's pleased and jumps to her brother. She congratulates him on his success, but soon starts shivering. To calm herself, she needs to go to the restroom. After peeing, she feels lightweight and moves toward her brother. Her brother is not alone. He is with Tristan, who is bragging that he will win. She interrupted their conversation by calling her brother, but Tristan makes fun of him by saying Ralph has an excuse to lose the battle. He can say that he must take care of his sister, so he loses the battle. Listening to this, she gets infuriated and insults him. Tristan is unable to tolerate this and raises his hand to beat her. Before he can, Ralph gets in front of her and doesn't give him a chance to do such an evil thing. Then Prince also arrives, and both boys greet him. Prince reprimanded Tristan for raising his hand to the child, and he asked for forgiveness because Prince himself is taking this side of this girl. Also, Prince assumes Néma is scared of Tristan and is hiding behind her brother, but the truth is the opposite. She is hiding from the prince. Unfortunately, he tells Ralph about this incident of saving her. She again says that she never got lost in the forest. By doing so, she has gained the prince's attention, and he holds her in his hands. Also, Prince has decided to take her as a plaything. She refused to do so, but the prince knows how much she loves the royal palace, so he has given her access to the royal palace whenever she wants. Néma, who is yelling to be a plaything, is now considering this offer. Also, the prince threatens Tristan not to mess with her because she belongs to the prince. Hearing this, he ran away, fearing for the prince. Also, he calms Ralph by saying his father has no objection to Néma because he is fond of her. Also, Néma is agitated about the prince because he is happy listening to the king. Prince also notices and inquires about her behavior with him. How can she tell him that he looks like a brute to her? On the opposite, Prince thinks she wants his attention, so he has started playing with her cheeks, watching his sister in trouble. Ralph asks him to hand her to him because she needs to attend Kanadia's trial. Prince also accompanies her because he doesn't want to leave Néma alone. Now Ralph has no excuse to save his sister by taking her into his hands. He moves to the ground where he has gotten the prince's treatment. But the prince asks them to take him as a student because he is here to watch the competition as a student. Now their attention moves to Kanadia, who is surrounded by a circle. Prince elaborates that this is a magical circle, and she needs to overpower the monster that appears from this circle. As she starts the magic, a fire dragon appears from it. Watching the divine fire dragon, everyone is shocked and knows it's a challenging task to defeat him. Prince inquires about Kanadia, whose extraordinary power is fire, and how she can call him. His assistant tells him that her control over fire is high, but she needs to gain command of the water elements, so this is going to be risky. Néma, who is listening to this, is worried about the dragon. By watching her sister smile, she realizes she will not leave the dragon. Her mother also supports her. Néma can't see that the holy dragon is about to die. She jumps from the prince's lap without thinking. She rushes to the ground.
Néma!
And her parents are worried about her. Néma jumps from the high wall and has no idea she can fall. Just then, some magic works, and she reaches the ground without harm. Aside from this, soldiers have gotten ready to tackle the fire dragon, but she rushes to the fire dragon and stands in front of him. Also, she shouts at everyone not to harm him. As the cutest girl, Néma has prohibited the guard from attacking the dragon. They have shunned her. Also, the fire dragon's attention moves to her. He is wondering what this little girl is doing here because this is not the place where this cute girl should be. As soon as Néma can talk with him, he shares his anger and calls her forcefully. Also, if he is inflicting malice on him, then how can he let them go quickly? Now it's Néma's turn to charm him with her beauty and stop him from taking any furious steps. She presents the adverse effect of fighting, which his gleaming scales can hurt, and she can't bear this cruelty to him. The divine dragon is calmed down, seeing his wrath is gone. She expresses her wish to pat on his scale. This desire shocks Fire Dragon because she is not terrified. Inspired by her innocence, he bends over to her so that she can touch him. Watching this, guards are about to take action by believing that Dragon will hurt her before they proceed. Brute Prince forbids it because he knows nothing is wrong. Néma thinks that his body will be hot, contrary to her expectations. He is calm and warm for her. As Fire Dragon falls for her, he makes Néma his master. Everyone around them is looking at Néma and Dragon with open mouths. They had never imagined a 3-year-old girl could tame this furious dragon. Also, Fire Dragon shares an orb with her.
我を必要とするならば、その時は主と認める。ならばこれを預ける。何？オーブだ。汝と我をつなぐもの。肌身離さず持っておれ。
Through this, they are mentally connected. In addition, after 3 years, Néma can use the power whenever she desires. Fire Dragon can understand that it would be difficult for Néma to keep the orb with her, so she can change the orb into whatever she wants it to be. After thinking for a while, she turned it into a teddy bear. She is pleased to meet with this elegant dragon, who says farewell to her. When the fire dragon disappears, Kana holds her little sister in her arms, and tears roll from her eyes. After that, Brute Prince takes part by squeezing her cheeks. She has realized Brute Prince is also worried about her watching the situation. The brave prince orders mages to tackle the situation. In the meantime, he plans to take them to the palace. Later, they are warmly welcomed into the court and given an amazing introduction. Many royal personalities are also there. which makes Néma nervous. Just then, the king and queen arrived, and they discussed the case. King is very well aware of Néma's pact with Fire Dragon. Also, he is worried that she can use its power against their kingdom. But Néma's father clears up their misunderstanding that this is not a formal pact, and she is only eligible to use the power when she is threatened. To clarify the king's doubt, he swears by his name. It reveals that he would die. When he makes his statement, Néma is worried about her father and realizes they have gathered to talk about this serious matter. Just then, they discuss this case. Royal Magic Research Center Director Seltzer disclosed that a magic circle is there, and the girl who has performed the magic is correct. She hasn't made any mistakes due to the fire dragon being forcefully called. It reveals that God wished to send him here. Listening to this, Néma yells in her heart. Now God hasn't left her alone in this world. She knows God has done this purposely because he wants her to be familiar with these people, but she isn't interested in knowing about them. The high priest also shares his perception. The divine dragon who appears here is a good omen for this kingdom, and that can be a source to boost their spirits. Néma falls into doubt when she hears it. How can they use so much flowery language to please the king? But she has kept everything aside because her sole purpose is to accompany Fluffy, the animal. When she is thinking about that stuff, Brute Prince notices her expression. She feels irritated by this and looks furiously at him. On the other hand, Prince Brute has realized she is getting bored with that stuff, so he gives Néma a suggestion to play with Lars. Listening to this, her eyes have started to fill with happiness. King has also allowed her to ignore them. She has moved to Lars, who is also pleased by watching. His old friend Néma holds his tail, and Lars takes her to his place. Lars is seated in a luxurious environment. Even a large piece of meat is kept before him. Watching this, she holds a piece of meat and offers it to this sky tiger without wasting a single second. He has eaten the meat. Although her hand gets inside his mouth, he has spared her tiny hands. Her hands become wet, and the people around her are shocked. How can she make him eat without any protective thing to wipe out her hands? The maid gives her a handkerchief, which she takes and says thanks for. Watching her cuteness, Maid has become so pleased and moved from here. Néma ignores it and is about to high-five Lars. Lars also enjoys her company, so how can he avoid her command? Both match their hands, and Néma's heart is jumping with happiness. The royal people surrounding her are shocked because she is linked with Furious and other animals. Later, she lies down with Lars and feels how soft and fluffy his fur is. It's not long before she falls asleep. Even her father loves his daughter, who looks so pretty and is snoozing. Other generals who know Fire Dragon's appearance are doing too well for their land, and her pact with the dragon is also important. So they want to keep a guard on her because someone could hurt her. His father, who can hear everything, is fed up because their selfish conversation could spoil his daughter. Instead, he prefers to leave from here. Other people also want to use Néma for their evil purposes. Even the high priest shares his desire to take Néma under his supervision. He wants to make her holy maiden by educating her, but her father knows what kind of education he will teach her. So Dayland is not going to teach her daughter under his supervision. He knows he can transform his daughter into a puppet he can control according to his evil purposes. Dayland says no to him because he doesn't want to turn her into a doll. His words are insulting to him, and he attacks Dayland and his wife. He shares his doubts about Néma, saying she is not their daughter. Her features aren't similar to those of their siblings. This time, Cerulia decided to answer this accusation to clear up his doubts. She mentions the true name of the vowel, but he again suspects her of being the true name of the vowel. Now she reveals the king's presence there, and if he dares to doubt again, he is messing with the king. Is the king ready to sacrifice with his own hands? If he does this, still, royal people oppose him because they don't want to let her go quickly. They share their opinion in front of the king. Later, Lars wakes up Néma by licking her face. Also, she opens her eyes and looks at her parents. Her parents give her the good news that no one scolds her. Also, the divine beast has given her power, so she shouldn't be frightened. At the same time, King also holds Néma in his hands. He is always obsessed with this pretty girl. The king has also given her permission to come to the palace at a time. Also, it's her wish to go wherever she wants to go, but she needs someone's supervision to go to the dragon's place. Listening to this, her senses have been activated. If the girl has fallen in love with fluffy animals, how can she miss the chance to meet them? After some time, Brute Prince takes Néma to his room. He wants to send Néma to Dragon Heaven and Fields as company. When Fields arrives, Néma is surprised to see him. His personality has amused her, and she greets him. Fields is her guardian, and she can inquire about anything from him. Also, he is responsible for protecting Néma. Just then, Brute Prince orders him to take Néma into the dragon stable. It is a great shock for him because the prince is sending her to a dangerous place like the dragon stable by moving with guards. She is ashamed of herself. Why does she need that protection? However, she proceeds because she can do anything for her fluffy animals. On the way, she meets Dan, the Knight of Dragons. His clothes are ordinary because he has to take care of dragons. He is not compelled to do this job. He is also fond of dragons. Fields look at his appearance. Fields criticizes him because he has yet to wear a royal dress like him. Fields and Dan are both friends at the academy level. That's the reason they are always ready to mess with each other to sort out this matter. Néma turns their attention to her by pulling on their clothes. Now they have realized what they have done to her. So Dan holds her hand and asks her to be cautious because there can be more dragons than she imagines. Some dragons, whom he calls Lindblom, are flying in the air, and the dragons who don't have wings are called Lindrax. These dragons live in the deserts and lake areas. The area depends on the dragon. Whichever suits the most, they live there too. So they prefer to live here because it has become their home. Just then, she tries to suppress the desire for a head pad on the dragon's head, but she knows Dan is not going to allow her. When she can't control her desire, then red beams appear in her body. These gleams have attracted the dragon, and they are rushing to them. It happens rarely, so Dan and others become vigilant in dealing with the situation. Dan takes the girl away, but the leader dragon stops them from proceeding. Néma ignores Dan and steps forward toward Gizzle. It shocked her because she even knew his name. This dragon says yes to her, and she jumps to pat his head. Also, she has gotten permission from Dan to go with Gizzle. Dan, who is stunned enough, can't deny he has given her approval. Gizzle has bent over so that she can sit on him without wasting a single second. She rides on the dragon. It takes her to the sky, and it's the happiest day of her life. Leaving Dan and other forces in bewilderment behind, she has gone. But sensing her Gizzle for 3 years, Néma is human, but he can get the fragrance of the fire dragon from it. Yet he knows she hasn't made a pact with her. Néma knows about it. She shares with him about the fire dragon, who has communicated with her a few times. Néma has the fire dragon's orb, so this is a plus point through which she can communicate with the dragon. As Néma has a fire dragon orb, another dragon will welcome her as a maiden dragon. He has taken her to a flowery land, where the little dragon warmly welcomes her. She even makes a flower band for the dragon, but he prefers to eat them here. Also, it looks delicious to him. She starts to chase him to teach him a lesson. On the other hand, other baby dragons think they are playing, so they join her. Later, she is swimming in the water and messes with her dragon by throwing water at him. As a result, another dragon starts playing with her, but Dan and Fields are discussing her. Dan knows about Gizzle's nature. He is the leader of the dragons. Also, he doesn't prefer to talk with anyone, but he has allowed Néma to be on his back, which is weird. Dan, who doesn't know about the Fire Dragon Pact, worries about her. But when Fields clears his doubts, his mouth widens. How could she be so daring at this young age? The orb that she has is extraordinary. It reveals this little girl is not an ordinary one. Not only this, she returns with Lars and another dragon. This is more shocking because she is making a connection with all the animals, and fluffy animals love her company. How can this be possible? Apart from this, she has no concern about what people think about her. Rather, she is so busy with the animals that she doesn't have time to think about them. Right now, her happiness is out of control because she has padded lots of animals. Today's episode of this anime begins with Nefertima informing us that they have reached the Monster Knight stable, which houses many rare creatures. They are greeted by the captain of the Monster Knights, who takes them on a tour. The captain introduces herself as the captain of the special unit called the Monster Knights, named Lester Nogma. He asks Nefertima to call him Les, and he gets to know her name. Leston is impressed by Nefertima and finds her captivating due to her kindness and cheerfulness. Leston then recalls hearing a lot about Nefertima, but he mentions that she seems like an ordinary girl, hardly standing out as described by Dan. However, Leston's friend informs him that the red dragon submitted to Nefertima, allowing her to ride it. Leston reflects on Dan's love for dragons, which led him to leave the Monster Knights to join the Dragon Knights, eventually becoming their leader. Back to reality. Leston thinks to himself that Nefertima is just a charming young girl. The scene transitions to Nefertima, Leston, and Dan arriving at the monster stable. Néma expresses her excitement, comparing it to a safari. Dan explains that magic is used to preserve this place, ensuring a better life for the animals. Leston suggests taking Néma on a tour on horseback, Leston whistles, and a horse comes running towards them.
毛並みサラサラ、たくましいのにしなやか。
Néma is overjoyed by the beautiful horse named Was, praising its silky mane and brave elegance. However, when Leston proposes playing together, Was refuses. Néma realizes that Was is not the friendly type and informs Les that Was can be selfish sometimes. When Was hears this, he becomes furious. Néma approaches Was, placing her hands on his head, explaining to Les that Was is not selfish but the leader of the herd, and people should be cautious around him if they don't know him well. Leston realizes that Was intentionally behaves this way to keep humans away from the herd. Néma informs them that Was is a highly intelligent horse. Leston approaches Was and apologizes, expressing that he had not realized this before. The atmosphere becomes joyful, and everyone is happy. We then see Dan and Nefertima riding a beautiful white horse named Hugh, known for its gentle nature and following wherever you go, making it suitable for beginners. Nefertima, talking to herself, expresses her wish that this horse resembles the one the princess rides in fairy tales, hoping it would be perfect for her brother. Les, Dan, and Néma take a tour around the stable on their horses. Néma is thrilled with the ride, and as they continue, they encounter a giant wild boar searching for insects underground. Suddenly, the boar's piglets appear and head towards Néma and her friends. Néma panics, but Les informs her that the piglets just want to play and that they target her due to their love for games. He explains that every year, Monster Knights faces injuries from these piglets, causing Néma to become very scared. The horses run away from the piglets, but suddenly the horse stops and snorts. Scaring the piglets away. Les thanks Was for saving them. The friends continue their tour, reaching a flock of birds. Les introduces them as walker birds, the fastest land animals used as messengers and in emergencies. Nefertima becomes excited and expresses her desire to ride one. However, Les warns her that it's very dangerous and requires intensive training due to their incredible speed. Nefertima insists on riding one, and Les decides to join her, securing a safety belt around her abdomen. He informs her that when she holds onto the harness, she must bow to it and embrace it. When she touched its body, she felt that it was extremely soft and also very gentle. The Leviathan informs her that if she grips it too tightly, it will stop, so she must be cautious. Nefertima is very excited, wondering how fast this bird is, as it seems incredibly swift. Leston, talking to himself, notes that this girl seems to be fearless. The Leviathan takes off with incredible speed. Making Nefertima unable to breathe due to the rushing air. Leston apologizes, realizing he forgot to cast the spell that closes off the air, allowing them to travel safely. He kicks the Leviathan to make it go even faster. After the thrilling ride, Nefertima gets off the Leviathan, feeling disoriented. Leston laughs at her because she can't walk, mentioning that the speed was only about 50% of its maximum. Next, they witness a falcon soaring in the sky, swirling around them, and they whistle to it. The falcon descends onto Leston's arm, and Nefertima is excited by the sight. Leston tells her that the falcon is a glide, often used for message delivery. As usual, Nefertima speaks up, expressing her desire to hold the falcon on her arm. But she realizes her hands are too small for that. They receive a message from the falcon, and Leston apologizes as one of his followers has caused significant trouble. He needs to return to headquarters immediately. He mentions that if he has free time later, he'd be delighted to take them on a broader tour, spending more time with them. Nefertima talks to Dan about wanting to see Gensel, and the scene shifts to Leston, addressing the soldiers, inquiring about how the White Isla escaped, and emphasizing its rarity. He apologizes for not being attentive and instructs them to form a team with dogs to track it down and capture it before it escapes further. The soldiers move quickly, and Leston talks to himself, expressing that this is the worst day ever. He reminisces about Nefertima playing with Waz and Yosio, noting that everyone loves her. Opening his eyes, he sees Nefertima with the creature that had escaped earlier. And Leston is amazed. Nefertima explains that she was trying to return from visiting Gensel when she found the lost creature and brought it back. Leston is delighted with this unexpected turn of events. He speaks to himself, astonished that Nefertima, with her keen awareness, found the White Island so quickly. He reflects on not underestimating people and not judging them solely based on appearance, as everyone has hidden talents. Meanwhile, after Néma finishes playing, she returns home. Her parents congratulate her on her birthday, and when they ask what she wishes for, Nefertima thanks them and asks to go to the city. Her father is initially shocked and refuses due to the danger, but her mother encourages the idea, stating that she'll be safe as long as she's with someone. Nefertima suggests going with her sister Karina, and her father agrees. When her mother proposes sending Paul with them for added safety, Nefertima is excited about this being her first shopping trip. The scene shifts to Nefertima, Karina, and Paul wandering through the city. Nefertima is fascinated, and Karina explains that this is a bustling commercial area. She shares information about the 4 distinctive districts in the royal capital: the industrial, public, noble, and commercial districts. Nefertima is amazed at the lively atmosphere and learns that the king wanted the city to look beautiful even from the sky. Karina expresses her happiness about shopping with Nefertima, and they continue exploring the vibrant city. Then the two girls run after each other, enjoying their time, with Paul following behind them. When Nefertima enters the market, it feels like she has stepped into a festival. The place is incredibly enjoyable, filled with ready-to-eat foods and sweets. Nefertima asks her older sister, Karina, to teach her how to spend money. Karina agrees to educate her, explaining that the smallest currency unit is the ray equivalent to 10 copper spikes, and a drink at the store costs 8 rays. She also mentions that a coffee session at the cafe is around 3 copper spades. Nefertima understands counting on her fingers and gets ready for shopping. As they explore, Nefertima feels like she's in a lively and exciting place. She requests 3 portions of turkey from a cook, who informs her that they serve the finest turkey in the world. The cook then asks for 3 copper spades, and Nefertima happily hands over the money. She receives the chicken she ordered and returns to her sister Karina, feeling triumphant about her successful shopping trip. Nefertima then distributes the chicken among her sister and Paul, who express their gratitude. She playfully sprinkles Paul with some flour to make him carry her items, and they all share a laugh. Afterwards, she gives a piece of chicken to her dog as a special reward for his birthday. Following that, Nefertima catches a delightful aroma and follows it to a bakery. There she discovers a delicious pastry called baby, made by a baker who fries the dough until it puffs up. Excited, she asks the baker for 3 pieces, but the baker suggests buying 20 and adds 3 more as a bonus. Nefertima happily agrees, and the baker informs her that the total cost is 1 copper speak. Nefertima hands over the money, receives her pastries, and continues her joyful shopping adventure. After that, Nefertima goes to her sister, and her sister asks her what she will do with all those sweets. Nefertima explains that she bought some for her father, mother, and everyone in the house. Her sister Karina embraces her because she is a very sweet little girl. Then they all go to a tavern. Karina asks Nefertima to enter and sit for a while. When they enter, Karina meets 3 of her friends. One of them greets Karina and expresses surprise at meeting her. Here, Karina explains that she was shopping with her sister. The girl looks at Nefertima and comments that it must be challenging to have a sister who is a failure and lacks any magical abilities, not resembling her father at all and having scary black eyes. Guy responds, questioning what she means by that. Karina defends her sister, saying that no one appreciates the beauty of her little sister, especially noble people. Insulting someone you meet for the first time is not fitting for the manners of a noble lady. She advises her not to tarnish the reputation of her honorable family. They decide to leave and see Néma and her sister. Karina suggests that Nefertima must be exhausted and needs to rest. Néma replies that she slept in the carriage, so she's fine. In her thoughts, Néma reflects on the encounter with the annoying girls at the cafe and how her sister was wonderful. Néma enters her room and is surprised to find her family and friends gathered to celebrate her birthday. Her father reveals that they kept it a secret to surprise her. Néma is overwhelmed with joy, thanking them for the surprise. They proceed to have a meal and celebrate. Princess Ali calls her and gives her a gift from both the princess and the king. Néma opens the gift, finding a necklace with a powerful magical stone inside. The king mentions that she needs a specific enchantment to use it. Then a boy arrives and asks them what is happening. He gives Néma a bracelet, saying, "Unlike my parents' gift, this will protect you. Always remember to wear it." Another girl appears, saying, "I bought you clothes, a hat, and shoes that have been modified for you to wear when you grow up." Everyone in the place gives her gifts. San, the small bird, gives her a young hawk named Rain Falcon, claiming it to be the smartest and strongest born in the season. Néma asks if she can take care of it, and San responds that she will raise it in the house because Néma showed great interest in Galai's hawks that day. Galai's hawks are still too big for her, so take care of Rain Falcon instead. Néma expresses her gratitude for all the gifts, saying it was the best birthday present. The scene then shifts to the night, when Néma says it was a very enjoyable day with many people celebrating her birthday. She looks at the bird and says, "I'll name you Nox, and from now on we'll be friends," with her bird friend. She calls him, and he lands on her arm. Then we see Dan, who tells Néma that birds of a feather flock together and tells Leston that he knew Néma was training the bird Nox, but I didn't expect her to progress this far.
驚かされますね。
まあ仲良しだもんね。
Néma always surprises them. Leston suggests that they make Nox fly farther tomorrow. Néma agrees, but the sadness on her face is evident. Dan asks Néma what's wrong, and she revealed that she might not be able to come as often now as she needs to focus on studying.
来れなくなるかも。お勉強が始まるの。
The scene transitions to Néma in her room, where Mogus enters and informs her that he has brought the teacher, who will instruct her from now on. The teacher introduces herself as Annalie Dessa. Néma is impressed by her elegance.
家庭教師を連れてまいりました。
こちらこそよろしくお願いします。
ネフェルティマ様
Considering her attire and hair, which resemble a complete artistic masterpiece, Mogus leaves to prepare some tea, and Annalie informs Néma that they must first work on improving her way of speaking. Annalie knows from the head servant, Mogus, that Néma addresses her parents as Mama and Papa. Néma shakes her head, and Annalie hits her, expressing disappointment that Néma didn't react more appropriately. We see Mogus entering the room again, saying that they seem to be getting along well. Annalie expresses confidence that they will become close friends, and Néma talks to herself, asserting that this teacher is undoubtedly her enemy. Annalie then proceeds to strike Néma multiple times.
こいつ敵だ。
悪いですよ。笑顔を崩さない。今日はここまでです。
Stating that she has a bad attitude and advising her to always maintain composure. After the lesson, Annalie asks Néma what she will say at the end of the lesson. Next time, Néma responds with a simple present. Annalie acknowledges that Néma is learning the basics but mentions that there is still much to teach. She reveals that she taught Ralph Opshe and Kanadia Opshe, both talented students, and she intends to transform Néma into a proper lady like them. And then the scene shifts to Néma sitting on her bed with her bird Nox next to her. She appears tired and expresses frustration, stating that the teacher is very annoying. She finds it impossible to believe that Annalie treated Ralph and Kanadia in the same way. Convinced that Annalie is mocking her, Néma is confident that her father will take care of the situation. After she informs him, she decides not to let Annalie win. In the morning, we see Néma with the teacher, and Annalie scolds her for being late again. Néma smiles, thanking Annalie for her guidance and promising to be more careful in the future. Néma then speaks to herself, warning not to underestimate the fake smiles and flattery she learned in her past. Annalie continues the lesson, focusing on history. At night, Néma leaves dinner, and her father is concerned about her unusual behavior. Noticing that she didn't eat well, Néma's mother suggests calling a doctor to examine her if she doesn't feel well. Never time afraid of doctors reassures her mother that she is fine and there's no need for a doctor. However, her mother insists on calling the doctor as a precaution. Néma panics, and her mother tells her to stay put while she goes to the doctor. When alone, Néma, the mother, follows her and advises her to tell the doctor if something is wrong. Néma makes a protest, saying she's fine, but her mother insists as a precaution. Néma screams and runs away, expressing her fear of doctors. However, her brother, Ralph, uses his magic to hold her in place. Néma gets angry at the Ralph for using magic in such a way. Finding it unjust, the Ralph asks her to think of something to tell their mother. Néma looks ahead and sees her mother approaching. She tells her mother that everything is fine, but only in her mind. She believes that if her mother catches her, she won't let her leave until she reveals the truth about Annalie. Suddenly, then Ralph releases his hold on her, and Néma gets very angry at him for what he did. She doesn't think it's fair to use magic in such a situation. Ralph asks her to think about something to tell their mother about Annalie, and Néma reluctantly agrees, realizing she can't handle their problems on her own. Then her mother spoke, stating that Néma should have consulted them since she couldn't handle her problems alone. The girl responded that if she told her mother anything about the teacher, she would be permanently expelled. Her mother affirmed that she would indeed do so, and then asked if Néma had a strategy to defeat Annalie. She explained that Annalie is known as a perfect lady, and Néma won't outshine her in politeness. If she challenges her, it must be on Annalie's terms, or she won't stand a chance. Her mother advised her to learn everything she can from Annalie, as she needs to understand her opponent first. Néma realizes that her mother wants her to make Annalie confess to her misdeeds. Néma then informed her brother, Ralph, about her mother's plan. Ralph used his magic to heal Néma's body, making her feel lighter. He assured her that if she ever felt terror again, she should let him know so he could help her with his magic. He wanted her to bloom into a beautiful lady, and Néma was overjoyed, thanking him for his assistance. The mother at that moment emphasized that this matter would remain a secret between the three of them. She asked Néma to do her best, and the young girl was elated. A year later, Néma grew a little older, surprising her father with her beauty and elegance. He couldn't believe another year had passed and that Néma had become even more stylish. Néma credited it all to the guidance of her teacher, Annalie, who thanked her. Annalie, proud of her, expected nothing less from a well-mannered girl from the Opshe family, closely related to the royal family. In Néma's thoughts, Annalie possessed a stunning appearance, but her actions did not evoke the feelings of a true lady. There was something strange about her that Néma couldn't understand. Later, Néma visited Paul and asked him about Annalie. He handed her some papers, explaining that when they considered hiring her as a teacher, they investigated her but found nothing worrisome. However, some of her relatives were devoted believers in a troublesome church. Néma was shocked when she recalled the troublesome monks from that church. She found the church very annoying, continuously talking about things that shouldn't exist. Now she understands the strange feeling that comes with it. Then comes the time for Néma's lessons, where the teacher talks to her about the kingdom of Gashi. It is surrounded by several countries, each with a different climate. Néma mentions that she heard about the city of Ikokoko in the southwest suffering from drought, impacting crops, and causing food shortages. The neighboring countries sought help from the church, and ultimately their kingdom, along with 2 other states, decided to provide assistance. The teacher then inquires about the Church of Creation, questioning why they don't help in such matters. Néma, aware of Ikoko's severe situation, believes they should help. Upon hearing this, the teacher becomes visibly tense and reveals that Ikoko has committed many wrongs, and the church refuses to assist them because they are wicked. Néma asks how the teacher can be certain that the drought is a punishment from the heavens. The teacher explains that their priests informed them of this, but Néma disagrees, stating that all creatures are creations of the same God, and there's no meaning in punishing them. The teacher counters by describing Ikoko as a savage state harboring monstrous individuals, and nobody knows what they might do next. Néma now understands the teacher's perspective. Then she asks if the teacher has met anyone or any monstrous person from that country, to which the teacher responds with an affirmative no. Though it is truly terrifying, Néma reflects on getting close to them. Néma thought to herself that the condescending arrogance stemming from blind adherence to beliefs was beyond her imagination. She then spoke to Annalie, expressing her disbelief that someone like her could be so audacious as to be biased against her. Néma told Annalie that this wasn't teaching. It was just violence driven by her anger at Néma's insult. She didn't want to become a despicable person who despises, though she has never met Néma. Asked if Anneli was trying to imply that this perspective is the right one for a noble lady as the Duke Osfi's daughter. Anneli advised her to bow her head in response. Néma disagreed, stating that the purpose of the conversation was to deepen their understanding of each other. Anneli left in frustration, and Néma rejoiced, considering it a victory. The scene then shifted to Néma's room, where she spoke with her bird Nox and expressed it. Néma's father noticed a mark on her cheek and became very angry at Anneli, but Néma insisted he not interfere, as it was her problem. She only warned Anneli. Néma heard that Anneli apologized to her father, requesting to continue as her teacher. Later, Néma mentioned that her teaching sessions had reduced, and she began teaching a variety of things alongside etiquette. These lessons were enjoyable. The scene then transitioned to Néma with a horse, and her father informed her that their family was responsible for the northern territories of the Gashi Kingdom. He proposed taking her to check the situation there since her schedule had become less dense. Excited, Néma agreed, mentioning her anticipation of encountering many fluffy animals on their journey. They used a spell for long-distance travel, and upon arrival, Arnauz welcomed them, expressing his pleasure at their visit from a distant place. Néma then introduced herself, and Arnauz assured her they had prepared a carriage for them. Overjoyed, Néma opened the door and was surprised to see snow, something she had never witnessed in this world before. Néma was overjoyed at the sight of the snow, which brings joy to the hearts. Suddenly she froze as snow covered her completely. Her father helped her with a magical spell, warming her body so that she no longer felt the cold. He then told her that she couldn't escape like that, as the weather here was different from the capital. She needed to wear proper, heavy clothes suitable for the cold. When she put on the heavy clothes, she felt warmth and joy, and her father was pleased with how she looked in them. He informed her that they would travel to their destination by carriage, aiming to reach it by nightfall. They boarded the carriage, and Néma looked out of the window in sheer delight at the snow. After getting out and playing in the snow with her father, they continued their journey. Her father explained that the northern territories consisted of mountain ranges, and although the weather was cold, it didn't hinder trade. The mounts provided them with wood, and dairy farms thrived in the plains as they approached the capital. Winter crops, resilient to the freezing weather, became visible. Néma compared the place to Hokkaido or the Tohoku region, and hoped to find many delicious things and rare creatures. In the evening, they reached their destination, where the man thanked her father and welcomed them. He considered her father the pillar of their town and expressed gratitude for their hospitality. Néma suddenly noticed that the snow didn't clump together in this place. In the evening, Néma enjoyed a delicious meal and requested more. A lady offered to prepare a canned lunch for her the next day, surprising Néma. Later, her father informed her that they would enter the forest the next day, which had become extremely dangerous due to increased monster attacks. The knights were dispatched, but their numbers were insufficient. They planned to establish a military base for the knights and wanted Néma to be a mediator with the fire dragon. Néma was astonished by this and asked her father, "Are you going to ask the fire dragon to eliminate all the monsters here?" In her thoughts, she feared that the entire forest might burn down. Her father reassured her, stating that he was confident the dragon had valuable information and was hoping for some guidance. Néma agreed, thinking that she could inquire about it when they met the dragon. She called Sol the fire dragon and informed him that her father had accompanied her on a tour of the northern area. She mentioned the recent increase in monster attacks and asked if he knew anything about it. Sol, curious about their specific location, I inquired about the Guild of Gulfer. When Néma told Sol that they were in the Frost Needle Forest, the dragon immediately recognized the place. Surprised, Néma asked why there shouldn't be any monsters in the Frost Needle Forest, so he confirmed that, according to him, there shouldn't be any monsters there. Néma conveyed her Sol's words to her father, and they decided to investigate further. Sol mentioned that most reports indicated the presence of imps, kobolds, and, in extremely rare cases, frost spiders. When Néma asked about the reason, Sol suggested that imps and kobolds should typically reside in the far south, and the presence of these creatures might be due to overpopulation. The peculiar child with yellow hair present in the group also added to the curiosity, expressing surprise at the gathering of reports from the area. Néma's father suggested that the possibility of human interference was low but still present, speculated that someone might have gathered these monsters here. Suddenly he stood up, struck the table, and declared there's no point in sitting around and pondering. We'll head to the forest tomorrow morning. Let's find out the secret behind these monsters, with Néma preparing to head into the forest. She carries a rabbit-shaped bag, the detective amulet, and the knife she received on her birthday.
じゃんじゃん忘れ物なーし。誕生日にもらったペンダントのお守りとナイフってなかったよ。
These items are neatly packed in her rabbit bag. Suddenly, the bird, Nox, arrives and lands on Néma's arm. She informs Nox that he will be their guardian in the forest. The group, now ready, stands at the edge of the forest. Their leader warns them to be cautious, as they never know when they might encounter monsters. The scene shifts to everyone entering the forest. The elder mentions that he used to hunt in this area for decades, but never saw anything like the current situation. Néma realizes the depth of the forest and looks to Nox for reassurance that he's watching over them from above the tree. They reach a specific tree and decide to take a break, having some lunch prepared by the elder. Suddenly they hear movement in the crops, and a soldier quickly draws his sword, cutting down a tree.
よし、ここで休憩しよ
お腹すいた。
う。ウサギでした。
But to their surprise, a beautiful rabbit emerges. Frightened, the soldier reassures them that it's just a rabbit and urges them to relax. Néma approaches the rabbit, asking if it's okay, but it remains motionless. Suddenly, the rabbit leaps away, leaving Néma saddened. The soldier explains that they are here not to exterminate monsters, but to avoid them, as the scent of blood attracts fierce creatures. Néma, however, feels compelled to search for the injured rabbit. She races into the forest, apologizing for scaring the rabbit and acknowledging that she can't leave it alone if it's hurt. Néma finds the rabbit under a tree, and as it looks at her, she realizes how much it admires her.
おいでおいで。かわいいぞ。そっか。さっきは騎士さんたちがいたから逃げちゃってごめんね。
She apologizes again for scaring it, initially understanding that it feared the knights. Néma advises the rabbit to return to the knights for treatment, thinking she hears her father and the knights. However, a net suddenly falls on Néma,
お父様たちかな。
and she disappears. She turns. Then we see one of the knights searching for Néma and finding her hat beside a tree. The scene shifts back to Néma, who, upon opening her eyes, finds herself surrounded by numerous red-eyed IMS. One of the imps approaches her, attempting to take the rabbit from her. Néma tells the imp not to eat it, and she is surprised that the imp understands her. She questions why all the imps seem sad, and suddenly her tone changes as she wonders aloud why they abducted her and what they plan to do with her. The imps are puzzled by her words. The scene transitions to Néma, who is now incredibly happy, expressing how cute she is. However, her expression changes again, and she mentions monsters. At that moment, two monstrous creatures grab her and take her into a dark cave. So the scene then shifts to the group searching for Néma. The man informs them that there are many traces of imps in the area, and he believes they might have kidnapped her. Her father becomes furious, finding it unbelievable that this happened here. He vows to find her, no matter the outcome. The scene moves to Néma, who has been taken by the imps to a place where two human girls sit inside a cave. They ask Néma if she was also kidnapped, and she confirms it. Néma then introduces herself warmly, and the two girls named Pino with green hair and her younger sister Nino reciprocate. Néma is surprised to find older individuals with them. Pino explains that they were taken to a different location, and they haven't seen each other since, because Néma wonders how they're older people here. Pino informs Néma that they've been imprisoned in this cave. Néma, speaking to herself, questions if it would be dangerous to use fire magic in a confined space. This surprises Pino, and Néma reveals that she was abducted by imps and is stuck in a distant cave in the forest. She ponders whether using fire magic would affect their ability to breathe or if it would deplete the oxygen, potentially causing them to suffocate. Then Néma begins to communicate with Sol telepathically, while Pino and Nino observe her, fascinated by her and seemingly lost in her dreams. In those moments, Sol informs Néma that she can breathe if he directs the wind, but he cannot directly attack the imps. Whenever Néma starts doing strange things, prompting Nino to ask what's wrong. Néma, are you out of your mind? Néma apologizes for her actions and tells herself to wait until her father comes to rescue them. They hear the growling of their empty stomachs, but find no food in the barren cave. Nino's stomach growls loudly, and Pino laughs, while Néma gives Nino, a small dog, to take care of. Pino laughs and asks if Néma will go alone, warning her of the danger. Néma assures them she'll be fine and promises to return quickly. As she sneaks behind the wall, she unexpectedly encounters the imp. Both are startled, and Néma apologizes for startling him. She asks if there's any edible food in the cave. The imp, understanding her gestures, offers her fruit. Néma takes it, unsure if it's safe to eat. She tastes it and screams due to its extreme bitterness, feeling a prickling sensation on her tongue. So the monster takes it back, peels it with his hands, and hands it to her again. Néma, hesitant, takes another bite and discovers that it's exceptionally sweet. She asks for more, and the imp hands her a bag full of the fruit. Néma, now peeling the fruit, is watched by all the monsters, who seem amused by her actions. It's been a heartwarming moment. Néma shares the fruit with the monsters, and they all appear to be friends. Néma realizes that these monsters are in danger, and she doesn't want to witness any harm befalling them at the hands of humans. Terrified, Néma knows her father will come for her but suspects he may not listen to her. She addresses the imps, asking why they all live in this place. One of the imps responds, but Néma doesn't understand, apologizing for her lack of comprehension. She then hears a noise from behind, thinking it's her father. But to her surprise, it's a much larger imp, the apparent leader. Frightened, she screams loudly due to its massive size as the imp's leader communicates with the others, questioning why the human girl is in this place. Néma, shocked to hear it speaking her language, realizes he is their leader. The leader scolds his subordinates for abducting anyone, reminding them not to do it again. He was mad, and she interrupted, expressing her understanding that he was their leader. She asks to speak with him and inquires about why they abduct children like her. The imp leader explains that it's their nature, but they take care of the human children instead of harming them. Néma comprehends their protective nature, even towards human children. She then questions why they attack humans, and the imp leader cryptically replies that it's for survival. Perplexed, Néma asks for clarification, and he elaborates that they were driven out of their previous habitat by humans, who also expelled kobolds, orcs, and goblins. Néma is saddened by the humans' actions, realizing the consequences of their cruelty. The imp leader informs her that the humans relentlessly pursue them, forcing them to flee to the north. Many of their kind perish due to their weakness and inability to withstand the cold. Néma told the imps she would decide to tell her father about these events. However, she doesn't know what to do with the imps. Feeling compelled to help them, she asks the imp leader about their intentions. Now, whether they seek revenge against humans or not, the imp leader expresses their desire to return to their previous lives, hunting alongside animals and monsters in the forest. Néma, however, senses there is a predatory undertone in the way they speak, realizing that the imps are essentially predators, and she contemplates whether their coexistence with other displaced creatures in the same place could upset the environmental balance estimate. Discusses this idea, with the imp leader privately suggesting that they could make a pact for all creatures, including the imps and other displaced beings, to live together. The imp leader finds the concept intriguing, acknowledging the potential benefits if they could manage to coexist. Blasted in, Néma, however, privately questions the feasibility of ensuring the survival of humans, but decides to proceed with the plan. The scene shifts back to Néma's father and her companions. Néma warns the imps that her father will arrive soon, likely angry and searching for her. She fears they may face harm before finding a suitable place for them to live. Saying this, the imp leader agrees to devise a plan to ensure her father listens to them. Mustered. Meanwhile, Nino and Pino are given food by Néma, who assures them that there is still much to be done, advising against rushing. Nino asks if they can leave, and Pino confirms they can, but emphasizes that Néma's father must be nearby. She suggests waiting for him, as his presence will bring joy to the imps, ensuring their safety. The scene transitions to Nino and Pino discussing the situation. Pino wonders why they should leave if help is on the way. Nino clarifies that they need Néma's father to be present, as he won't listen to the imps unless they are in danger. Nino realizes the imps had reasons for their actions and that he wants to save them. However, he acknowledges that Néma's father won't be receptive unless they create a situation where he has to listen. He's suggesting that they pretend to be chased by the imps, making Néma's father more likely to intervene. Nino and Pino understand the plan, realizing that it may be easier to negotiate with the imps after reducing their numbers. Pino sadly tells Nino that they cannot help Néma, as putting Nino in danger is not an option. Néma offers to cast a protective spell to shield them, but Pino refuses, expressing concern about exposing Nino to another frightening experience. However, Nino agrees, saying that if playing this role will fulfill Néma's plan and save everyone, they are willing to do it. Néma talks to her younger brother, reassuring him that they will be safe and emphasizing that she won't lie to them. Néma is overjoyed and hugs Nino, who expresses trust in Néma's plan. Pino is moved by Nino's words and agrees to assist Street. The scene then shifts to the forest, where Néma's father and his companions reach the imp's cave. Néma's father expresses his determination to do everything to save Néma. They notice children running in fear of the imps, and Néma assures her father that he didn't abandon the children and won't forsake them. Néma could clearly hear the voices of the two girls. Through the magic of soul, the girls continued running in front of the monsters, with one of them caught by someone among the people. At that moment, the remaining soldiers raised their swords against the monsters. All of this was part of the plan devised by Néma. She then commanded the soldiers to return to their lair, and she was overjoyed that everything was going according to plan. Néma was confident that the monsters would not attack if they believed there were others inside. Confronted by a large and wicked monster, she was sure they would opt for dialogue. Suddenly, the father of Néma, along with his soldiers, stood before the monsters. The leader of the monsters emerged, surprising the two soldiers with its enormous size. Suddenly, the monster spoke, telling the humans to leave if they wanted the children back. Néma's father appeared and said it was rare to encounter a talking monster. Suddenly, the monster expressed anger and declared that they would return Néma in the face of this anger. Néma was shocked to see her father in such a state. She didn't expect all of this to happen. Her father then unleashed a fire spell on the African monster, but it had no effect as Néma had protected it with a protective enchantment. As her father realized she was present and had used magic to shield the monster, he instructed her to leave immediately, addressing her as Néma. She was greatly surprised and apologized, admitting that her secret had been exposed. Her father, unsure but wanting to avoid conflict, asked her to come closer and reassured her that he wouldn't be angry or use magic if Néma came out. She apologized to her father, who was astonished, and he told her to hurry and come closer to ease his heart. And when he reassured them that he had embraced his daughter and she approached him, he signaled to his followers to kill the monster, the imps. Indeed, the three soldiers quickly fired 3 shots to eliminate it. However, Néma commanded Sol to protect the imps. Hastily, she intervened and stood in front of the imps monster, telling them that she would not allow them to kill them. Her father was surprised by this, especially considering that she harbored imps, which were harmful creatures. Néma informed him that the imps had been exploited by humans, driven away, and left with no choice but to come here. She pleaded with her father to listen to her and believe her. Eventually, her father agreed not to harm them if she insisted, and she felt relieved. Néma then checked on Pino and Nino, and they reassured her that they were unharmed. Suddenly, Néma's flying creature Nox appeared in the sky with tension and extreme fear, indicating imminent danger. Néma looked around and noticed some monsters emerging with glowing eyes, recalling her father's warnings about reports of both imps and kobolds. And she asked them all for some light, and instantly he illuminated a large flame. The monsters gathered together for protection. Suddenly, the gigantic monster appeared, revealing itself to be the frost spider. They realized that it was an imminent threat. In a thrilling episode after Nefertima was kidnapped by the demon army, they showed unexpected compassion towards her and other humans, intending to care for them rather than harm them. Later, Nefertima's father and his group arrive at the cave of the demon army. Nefertima explains the misunderstanding and says that they didn't harm her. Suddenly, they notice a massive creature approaching from afar, the frost spider. Everyone is surprised by its presence in that location. Nefertima senses that the spider is extremely hungry and is about to devour them all. In those moments, the king of Golem approaches the spider, and Nefertima is terrified. However, her father advises her not to intervene, as it is his personal battle. The Golem King engages in a fierce battle with the frost spider. The fight is intense, with the spider cutting down a tree to crush the Golem King, but he skillfully avoids it. The spider then covers him in ice, turning him green, but the Golem King withstands it with his arm. He leaps onto the spider's back, surprising everyone with his strength. After a powerful punch, he seemingly defeats the spider, and blood splatters everywhere. Then the Golem King catches his breath. The spider, surprisingly, is not dead. It rises again, jumping onto the Golem King and shocking everyone. In a moment of suspense, it appears that the Golem King might have succumbed to the enormous weight. However, after a few 10 seconds, he lifts the massive spider as if lifting weights and hurls it away. Taking another deep breath, the Golem King thanks Nefertima for her concern. She notices something strange about the female spider. It seems to be extreme distress. Using her ability to understand animal languages, Nefertima hears the spider seeking help to protect her child. Néma then sees the little spider walking, realizing that the mother was afraid for her offspring and wanted to protect them. The mother spider dies, and Nefertima sheds tears, approaching the grieving baby spider to comfort it. Her father comes over, telling her that survival is for the strongest, saying, "Stay strong, Nefertima. This is the cycle of life, and it is God's will. Each has their appointed time to live and die, and there is nothing we can do but accept," her father says. He embraces her, and Nefertima expresses her wish to save the spider but can't. She cries, surprising her father and others. She tells her father that she wants to become stronger to ensure all living beings live happily in their respective habitats. Now her goal is not just about herself but to help others, like the spider. Her father reassures her and commends her compassion. Suddenly, a bright yellow light emerges from the firefly, transforming it into a human. Néma is astonished, and her father explains that it's an evolution. Her firefly, confused, asks what happened. Néma, equally puzzled, tells him she doesn't know. She informs him that she can always rely on Sol. Sol explains that the firefly has evolved, and the dragon reveals that in the hierarchy of demons, the firefly is at the highest rank and can't evolve further. Néma notes that he somewhat resembles humans, and Sol reveals that those who live in this place have humanoid bodies and horns. He requests to see her, promising to visit tomorrow. Néma relays the message to her father, who becomes extremely agitated, instructing them to give the firefly some clothes. The firefly puts on the clothes, and Néma hugs him, thanking him for saving them. Néma's father is emotional, asking her to stay away as it's bedtime for young girls. The insect approaches Néma, asking if she wants to sleep with her or return to her mother in the forest. A bug comes close to Néma, questioning if Néma wants to sleep with her or go back to her mother. The insect climbs onto Néma's shoulder, and she joyfully names it Gracha. Suddenly, a bright light emanates from the bug, displaying a strange symbol. Néma is astonished, and the next morning she washes her face. The firefly instructs his followers to carry the spider, warning them of its venomous fangs. Approaching Néma, the firefly assures her that if the humans follow their plan, they will be a hindrance to him. Then Nino and Pino arrive, and Néma welcomes them. She tries to fix the boy's hair, and they all laugh. Feeling hungry, Nino and Pino go to eat, while a soldier informs Néma that the little rabbit is recovering well, bringing her immense joy as it is a healing charm that succeeded excellently. Her father approaches her and tells her that she is very intelligent, understanding the responsibility that comes with raising a pet. He suggests that the rabbit should stay where it belongs. Néma asks if she can't keep it, and her father explains that when wild animals are kept by humans, it distorts their nature. They lose their caution and become unable to protect themselves. Resembling ripples on water, Tristan tells her if she takes the rabbit with her, it will create a small ripple in the world, interacting with other ripples, either consuming or being consumed. This will impact the world as every phenomenon shapes the world, no matter how small or large. All these ripples affect the world in one way or another, and someday they will come back negatively. Therefore, the fewer ripples in the world, the more it looks crazy. When there are no ripples, it means the world is at peace. Néma thinks to herself that she is content with just petting and enjoying the soft furs of animals, but she will leave them now to avoid any problems. Indeed, she leaves the small rabbit to go on its way, apologizing for the harm they caused. She assures him that she will come back another day to play with him. She wants to go home to play with Nox and Dee, who are waiting for her there. Later, Nefertima talks to her father about the baby spider. When he sees it, he is shocked because it is not just an animal, it is a monster. Moreover, the fact that it is black means it is unique. The transformed firefly, now resembling a human, asks if she knows the difference between an animal and a monster. Nefertima replies that the main difference lies in whether they are intelligent or not, a distinction her friend Din mentioned before. He can differentiate between animals and monsters based on their intelligence. The humanoid figure bluntly responds that monsters are failures and flawed creations. Nefertima doesn't understand this, so she asks him to explain. He clarifies that demons are flawed copies of humans, and frost spiders are also flawed spiders. Most monsters are weak, and to become a stronger monster, one needs to gain a specific name. When someone powerful acknowledges them, the world recognizes them as an individual. Only then can they use magic and receive blessings from spirits. And Nefertima realizes that names hold great importance in this world. Curious about his name, she acts like the transformed firefly, but he admits he doesn't have one. This surprises Nefertima because of his immense power, making her feel a sense of jealousy. It's the half-humans explain that the arachnoid has a mark on its forehead, signifying it has a name. Néma proudly reveals that its name is Gracha. However, her father becomes upset, and she quickly apologizes, explaining she didn't mean any harm. Her father reassures her that if they decide to take Gracha with them, it will bring her great joy. As they prepare to leave, the transformed boy informs them that everything is ready. Néma expresses her satisfaction that they've grown their party, but also acknowledges that everything has come to an end. The transformed boy speaks with the golems, instructing them not to leave the cave. If something happens, they won't be able to help Néma. Before leaving, Néma mentions that with everything that has happened, their party has grown larger than when they started, but now it's all over and they'll return to the village. They plan to visit the city to pray at Nino and Pino's homes. Néma asks them about their residences, and they reply that they live in the Aya district near Iriga. Her father asks if they are Ariel, and they confirm it, mentioning it's their family name. He then assures them that they will accompany them safely, sending a messenger pigeon to inform their family. Nino and Pino invite Néma to visit their home at any time to play with them, reassuring her that she doesn't need to come if she doesn't want to. Néma hugs them with love, saying she will definitely come to play the next day. The dragon Sol arrives and Néma joyfully embraces him, marveling at his smooth texture and his feathers, which she finds the best when the transformed firefly sees this, now in a different humanoid form. He remarks that he is different from any uni he has seen before. The next day, while he is talking, Néma seems preoccupied with thinking about what Sol is saying. She decides to take a nap, using his belly as a pillow and his wing as a blanket, causing Sol to get annoyed because she is not listening. He warns her multiple times, raising his voice, but she doesn't pay attention, leading to a comical moment where she stutters, falls, and lands on the ground. The transformed firefly carries Néma, and her soul informs her that he is not a uni, unable to use elemental powers like uni. Néma believes that only sacred monsters can use elemental powers. Curious, she asks the transformed firefly if he can see spirits or similar entities. He confirms that he can see transparent insect-like creatures. Néma inquires further, asking if he can use other elements. The transformed firefly demonstrates his ability to use fire, wind, water, and earth elements, defeating a clay doll with each one. Néma is impressed and excited about the potential benefits of these elemental powers in their plan. Overjoyed, Néma realizes that she hasn't informed her father about these powers yet. She decides to discuss the details with him. Later, her father agrees to support her, and the transformed firefly, contemplating a name for himself, is eventually named Shinki by Néma, who is delighted with her skill in naming things. However, a mark appears on Shinki's forehead, causing Néma to regret her decision. Her father is saddened by this development, but Shinki assures Néma that it's a classification mark, not his name. Néma apologizes to Shinki for naming him without asking, and he explains that he would have requested it anyway since she led them on the right path. Shinki mentions that the demons under his command will now pledge loyalty to Néma. Her father approves, and Shinki speaks, stating that the demons will serve Néma and pledge their allegiance to her. Néma is reassured, feeling proud and happy that she managed to tame and include Shinki. Néma apologizes to Shinki for giving him a name without consulting him, and he tells her that he would have asked for one anyway since she guided them correctly. Shinki then bows to her, declaring his loyalty, and Néma is pleased with the outcome. Our episode this week starts with Nefertima asking her father about the coexistence of humans and monsters. The main idea is that monsters are losing their habitats, so they need to create new ones. Nefertima suggests building a barrier on a mount uninhabited by humans and relocating all the displaced monsters there. If the number of monsters exceeds the capacity, they could transform the area into a training ground for adventurers. This way, they could cover expenses by setting up insurance and shops at the mountain's base. Adventurers and monsters would then observe each other, informing Nefertima's father that this plan exposes humans to the danger of monster attacks. Master Nefertima argues that this is part of the struggle for survival, suggesting she could explain this to the adventurers. Her father considers the plan naive but agrees to think about it. But to make Nefertima happy, she decides to explore potential areas for her plans during their reconnaissance mission. Later, Nefertima's father informs her they will head to their next reconnaissance destination and asks Skink to join them, as his elemental powers could be useful. Shinki agrees, but fears leaving the nest for too long. Nefertima thinks to herself that they can't maintain the barrier indefinitely. Shinki then suggests using spirits to protect the nest and asks Nefertima to give the strongest spirit a name so it can protect them alongside them. Nefertima becomes very excited and asks why he called her my lady. Shinki explains that she's the leader of their group since she gave him a name. Nefertima finds Shinki's address embarrassing and asks him to treat her as an equal, so he agrees to call her a nasty from now on. The scene then transitions to Nefertima, Shinki, and the troll outside the tunnel. Nefertima asks her friend Shinki if the troll is a girl. The troll responds affirmatively, surprising Nefertima. Shinki explains that the troll is his right arm and will evolve. After a few more hunting trips, Nefertima approaches the troll and tells her she'll choose a nice name for her. When Nefertima asks the troll what name she'd like, the troll consults the flowers, and Nefertima decides to name her Suzuko. The symbol then appears on Suzuko's face, making Nefertima very happy. Suddenly, another troll emerges from the tunnel, and Shinki explains that this sprite also wants a name. It's true. Nefertima asks why, and Shinki reveals that this troll destroyed his entire previous group and wants to become stronger to protect his current group. But he's weak and lacks hope until he gets a name to hunt giant boars by himself before their return. Promising to give him a name if he succeeds, she decides to think of a fitting name for him and chooses Toki, meaning warrior ghoul. When she tells him his name, Toki becomes very happy, and the symbol appears on his face. The scene then shifts to Shinki, who is carrying Nefertima as they walk. Nefertima tells Shinki how she accidentally summoned the dragon soul and how it brought her closer to him. Shinki mentions how many people and animals adore her, which Nefertima confirms by expressing her love for her family and friends. Shinki reveals he had an older brother who died in a confrontation with humans, which deeply affects Nefertima. She places her hands on Shinki, telling him he's part of her beloved circle of friends, to which Shinki thanks her. The scene then shifts to Nefertima's father, Shinki, and Nefertima, as they are now heading on a short trip before heading to their destination, the prominent agency of Bozith. However, it will take them a long time to get there. Nefertima's father asks Shinki to guide them on the correct path for a quicker journey. Shinki agrees, and when asked what he's doing, he tells them he's currently gathering eyewitness reports about the monsters. Nefertima's father asks Shinki to inform him about the route he took while fleeing, wanting to know its distinctive features. Shinki describes 3 connected mountains and a river with strong currents. Nefertima's father diligently notes and draws what Shinki describes, indicating recent reported sightings. He explains that it's very dangerous in those areas, but the monster problem might be manufactured, so they need a thorough investigation to know the truth. He then turns to Nefertima, informing her that, after investigating Bozith, they will return to the capital city. Nefertima feels saddened as she wanted to explore sites for her desired plan, but her father apologizes, explaining that it's urgent, but he arranged for Ralph to accompany her, which cheers her up greatly as he'll be her subordinate and she'll meet him in the city. Looking out the window, he notices that Cass is on the horizon, and in less than 5 minutes, they finally arrive at the city. They are warmly welcomed by the people who inform them that they're now in the town of Cass, once very rich and safe, but now unstable. They are then caught in a heated argument about who will host them and fetch their meal. Nefertima seizes this opportunity while they are distracted, heading towards a building that appears to be the Adventurers Guild, with Shinki following her. When she opens the door, she is surprised to find it's not an Adventurers Guild, but rather a library or school. Not what she expected at all. A beautiful girl with crimson hair approaches her, welcoming her and asking how she can help. But she's taken aback when she sees Shinki and realizes he's a monster. She informs them that monster men are not common in these parts, so they shouldn't linger. Shinki tells her he'll leave once Anasta finishes her task, shocking the girl, who says something Anasta. How is this little girl's Anasta? At that moment, Nefertima intervened, changing the subject as she wanted to see what the guild hall looked like. The receptionist informs her that their guild hall is in the royal capital, very far from her residence, so she can't go there. The receptionist then introduces herself as Aria Bell, but Nefertima can call her Bell for short. Nefertima introduces herself, and Shinki is now happy to be in this place. Then Bell takes them on that tour and begins to explain. These are our reception cabins, where we assign various tasks to adventurers to ensure that no one overhears the details. We use a feature called Sound Muffler because there have been many problems in the past. There was widespread theft of rewards, news, and even confidential information, so we decided to put an end to it. Some adventurers would exploit the possibility of assigning more than one person to the same task to claim rewards for others' achievements. The injustice was rampant, but since then, we've banned all these practices. Our guild is very strict about any wrongdoing excuse given to us. But before she could finish, a person rises from his seat, clearly angry, and says, "Will the guild suffice with silence and ignore this blatant injustice?" Nefertima is surprised by his words. He continues to receive triple the usual reward just for eliminating a small group of trolls. Nefertima is even more astonished and says, "What about the sound muffling technology? Is it not true?" As that girl said, this all seems very frightening. She then calls out to Belle, asking her what they're talking about. Belle informs her that the boy's name is Hilren DeWitt, one of the heads of this town. He's very skilled at his job, but doesn't get along with the governor, and apparently he's from the royal palace. Belle is even more astonished and says he's from the royal palace. But who brought him to this countryside? Then Nefertima descends and approaches him. He asked them to help him calm down a bit so as not to disturb the peace of others here. He must return to the cabin now. Hilren replies that if they turn a blind eye to this, a big problem will arise. But at this point, Nefertima approaches him and asks to speak with him for a moment. When he looks at her and sees her as a young child, he becomes annoyed, as he doesn't have time for children. Nefertima is vexed by his attitude, but she suppresses her anger and speaks to him again, offering her assistance. She tells him that if he doesn't want help, that's fine. Hilren doesn't understand her words, so she informs him that she knows the duke of this agency, named Nefertima Opshe. She's the second daughter of Daylan Opshe, so she can convey this matter to her father. However, it depends on its nature. Nefertima surprises everyone by revealing that she is the duke's daughter. She continues her conversation with Hilren, asking him to inform her of everything he knows so she can help. She wants to know exactly what's happening in this town. Hilren takes her, and they sit at a table. He apologizes for his rudeness earlier and introduces himself as Hellerind White, the accountant of this town today. When Nefertima hears that he's the accountant, she realizes that the accountant verifies all the financial accounts and reports concerning the town. She then asks him to delve into the matter further, as she wants to know more about the governor. Hilren tells her that she's still too young for this conversation, and it might be too complex for someone her age. This greatly frustrates Nefertima, but she doesn't blame him for it, as he doesn't know that in her past life she was an adult. She reassures him that she is very smart, to the extent that she accompanies her father on missions. Hilren then asks her if she's aware of the sharp increase in monster attacks recently. While the Bossath agency also witnessed a significant rise in monster appearances, Chaos didn't experience a notable increase compared to last year. However, a few people were injured, but the governor exaggerated the situation greatly. He submitted false reports claiming deaths and seized the 5 gold pieces sent as compensation. Hilren ponders over the matter of the 5 gold pieces, which is approximately 5 million yen. They now have a petty, typical villain among them. She then asks if they requested assistance from the knights. Hilren tells her that when they witnessed the trolls, they immediately sent a plea for help. However, for certain reasons, the knights couldn't attend. Nefertima doesn't understand what these specific reasons are. Hilren continues to explain that when the townsfolk were harmed and accused the governor of inflating infrastructure costs, Nefertima asked him if he had any evidence of this. Hellerind replied affirmatively, stating that he had indeed seen the governor keeping a secret ledger somewhere. Nefertima acknowledged that if there was evidence, the rest fell on her father. She then asked him to swear by his name and tell her father everything he had just said. Hilren assured her that he would definitely do so. Afterwards, Nefertima expressed her concern about one thing: a lie. whether they knew if the knights would be able to attend or not. Hilren replied that they would be able to reach there. He then pulled out a map and explained that the city of Linus, the largest city in the Bazath region, is where the main highway passes through. However, it is constantly subjected to raids by Cobalt. Nefertima was surprised to hear that Cobalt attacked these roads, as she didn't know what they did in these areas. Hilren informed her that the Cobalt population is huge and they operate in an organized manner. At one point, Linus itself was in danger because of them. So most of the knights were deployed in that area and couldn't come here. Still, Nefertima pondered to herself that if this was organized, it meant they had a leader. If everything goes well, she might be able to add the kobolds to her plan as well. She then talked to Hilren, telling him that he must come with her to meet her father. Hilren agreed to that. Nefertima then spoke to Shinki, saying that she has a favor to ask of her, which is to persuade the spirits in the vicinity to do something, which is to join them under Suzuko's leadership. Shinki agreed to that. Later, Nefertima called for her companion, Birdnox, and played with it for a while. Then she gave it the message and asked it to deliver it to her father. A bird took the message and hurried on its way. Nefertima called after it and asked it to ensure that her father came to the governor's mansion. Belle was astonished and asked her if she was going to the governor's mansion. If she was, he could take her there. Stirred, Nefertima thanked Belle and told her that this wasn't part of her job. She could go there by herself. But Belle informed her that, as a member of this town, she wants to help them in some way. Nefertima agreed to that, relying on her from now on. Since time passed and night fell, we have seen Nefertima walking around the city with Belle. Nefertima asked her friend about how long the governor had been in office. Her friend replied that she believed he had been in office since he succeeded his predecessor 15 years ago. Nefertima then asked her about the duration of his embezzlement. Nefertima wondered since when he had been embezzling, to which Halloran informed her that it had been approximately 5 years. This surprised Belle because the accountant knew about it. Even though he had only come to the town 3 years ago, the accountant then revealed that he had actually examined the previous records and discovered that the governor hadn't been doing his job properly. They then arrived in front of the tavern's mansion and noticed Nox, the bird, waiting for them. Suddenly, Nefertima spotted her father, and he, in an angry tone, admonished her, stating that wandering around without permission is unacceptable and that if she had an excuse, she should inform him. Nefertima apologized to him for causing him concern and for potentially causing trouble for everyone. She mentioned that she had wanted to see the Adventurers Guild. Her father then asked her about Shinki, and she informed him that she had gone to see the troll, causing trouble. This further angered her father because she had acted recklessly, and perhaps her introduction to society as the former duke's daughter was premature. Nefertima, feeling deeply saddened, thought to herself that he used to reprimand her for something serious or reject her request with good reason. But he had never been upset with her like this before. The purpose of this trip was to monitor various aspects of this agency, and even if she accompanied them, she remained just a part of his faction. Nevertheless, she didn't leave without permission, and she didn't even keep her guards with her. If any harm befell her, they would be the ones punished, as they were entrusted with her protection. How could she have acted so recklessly? We should use our position to protect those who are less fortunate than us. She had learned it, and suddenly she felt very sad and cried because she wasn't used to her father being like this. Suddenly, her brother Ralph surprised her with his arrival and told her that it's not allowed for her to cry, and if their father scolded them both together, don't worry still. Nefertima was very happy and said, "My brother and sister always support me. No matter how wrong I am, they always endure the scolding with me. My tension has now eased, but the tears don't stop falling." Then her brother gave her this handkerchief to wipe away her tears. Suddenly, Prince Wilhert appears to her, accompanied by the tiger named Lars. Everyone submits to Prince Wilhert and greets him. Then Nefertima's father asks Prince Wilhert about the reason for his visit, to which Prince Wilhert responds that he has completed some tasks and decided to relax with Nefertima. However, Ralph informed him that she was in his company. Nefertima's father then asks his daughter if His Majesty the King is aware of his presence here, to which Prince Wilhert responds that he brought the guards with him, and the king is certainly aware of that. He then inquires about the two individuals accompanying his daughter, and she informs him that one is Hilren, the accountant of this town, and the other is Belle, who helped her in the guild. Hilren wants to speak with your father as he needs your assistance, she adds. In this case, her father assures her that he will speak to him in his capacity as the Duke or the Prime Minister when the accountant talks to him. When the accountant mentions embezzlement, Nefertima's father is shocked and suggests they talk inside. They then enter the governor's mansion. When Nefertima's father questions him about the embezzlement, the governor is stunned by this accusation. Nefertima then narrates to us what happened. She tells us that the adults had a very difficult conversation about the governoress embezzlement. According to the testimony of Hilrun, the town's accountant, this caused a great commotion among the governor's men. However, only Mama is capable of winning a debate with Papa. The governor couldn't win this argument, and thus the Adventurers Guild will detain him under surveillance. This marks the end of his embezzlement schemes. Rewind is delighted by this turn of events, especially Nefertima, who is overjoyed. Today's episode begins with Nefertima's father addressing them, thanking them for exposing this injustice and having him eradicated. Thanks to the efforts of these two young men, and indeed, thanks to all of them as the Duke, I thank you all for this great achievement, especially you, Hilrun, for your exceptional vigilance and investigative skills. Then he offered him an excellent offer to assist him in the palace. However, Hilrun's response was very quick, saying no, he did not intend to return to work in the palace. Nefertima then tells him, all right, if you don't want to work in the palace, come and work for me. Not just you alone, but you and Ariabel. Nefertima's father then speaks to them, informing them that this is another option. When Hilrun asked what the option was, he informed them that Nefertima currently has a specific plan, but if they participate in it, there is a high possibility that their lives will be in great danger. To explain this matter further, he needed them all to swear by God not to tell anyone about this conversation, including His Highness Prince with the blue hair, Wilhert. Indeed, Prince Wilhert swore not to tell anyone about what he would hear again. Then everyone else swore not to tell anyone. Nefertima's plan is to gather many large and small monsters and establish a settlement for them. It's a plan that requires a great deal of effort because there are some dangerous monsters who might endanger their lives. But it's a good idea. Then the Duke introduces his son Ralph, since he will take over afterward to take charge. And Ralph is very happy about this, and also because he will be with his sister Nefertima at this time. Prince Wilhert informs them that he will also assist in this wonderful work. Nefertima's father is surprised and asks him how that is possible. Your Highness, you have official duties and significant responsibilities to attend to. In response, he informs them that he is well aware of this and does not intend to ignore them, as his work comes with him so he can help as needed. Then Nefertima turns to Ariabel and Hilrun and asks them if they have thought about it. Well, they tell her that they agree to work with her. At that moment, Shinki, the transformed man and leader of the goblins, enters. Nefertima embraces him and welcomes him. She asks him how things are going, and he tells her that things are good thanks to God. Then we see Ralph approaching from behind Nefertima, asking her if she introduced him to this person so he could get to know him. She tells him that Shinki used to be a goblin before he transformed, and this mysterious creature scares Ralph a lot. Then he looks at his father, who is very angry, and asks him how he allowed this saying. Father, how could you allow a strange creature from the goblin tribe to be friends with Nefertima? At that moment, his father puts his hand on his head and tells him that Shinki, bound by his true name, is considered only Nefertima's personal guardian. Then Nefertima speaks to Shinki again to tell her about the details of what happened to him. Shinki tells her that the goblins that appeared nearby were a group of 16 led by a big goblin named Baba, who tried to explain the plan to them, but their leader didn't understand my words. So I fought her and struck her with a strong blow, and now she is under my command and orders. But since I indicated to her the right way, I am confident that she will find the cave. Then Nefertima turns to her father and asks him if he has any information about the kobolds in Linus. Her father informs her that there are reports of a large group and an attack on a caravan, while Soren, the team leader, confirms the accuracy of this information. There are about 100 kobolds, and apart from their main force, they are divided into 5 groups. Each group seems to have a specific duty, such as guarding or exploring. The kobolds lead the groups, and it is said that a werewolf of higher rank leads the main force. Dayland is surprised and asks Werewolf, how did you know that? So the Knight Commander tells him that they requested assistance from the Adventurers Guild. After that, we will head to the neighboring Lioness to take corrective action on this issue. Nefertima then asks him if he has any information about the person responsible. He informs her that there is a possibility that those trying to prevent information from reaching the royal capital are unknown individuals. Then the Knight Commander tells them that he heard that the regional commander used to work at the main headquarters before being transferred here. In other words, he was demoted to a lower rank. It is assumed that the people who attack Chinky are adventurers or claim to be adventurers. Nefertima's father, regardless of the developments, thinks that it is increasingly likely that our enemies are numerous and highly organized. Then Ariabel raises her hand and asks if she can check with the Adventurers Guild to find out which office submitted the request. Nefertima's father tells her, "All right, Ariabel, and we will be very grateful to you. But since we don't know where the enemy is hiding, it will be very dangerous." Then Prince Wilhert asks if there is suspicion of spies in other states and within the ranks of the knights. The Duke replies that indeed, there is a high probability that there are spies everywhere. Meanwhile, we see Nefertima saddened by the fact that spies are everywhere and that the situation is overwhelming for her. But her brother reassures her that the matter will be resolved. Then the Duke informs them that since we don't know this enemy, we will give them a name among us to make it easier to identify them. And the name is Ronald Hark. We will name the monster attack the Southern Interception Incident. Nefertima remembers Ronald Hark as she had seen it before and that her father used to hunt it. Then Nefertima's father informs them that he will return to the capital tomorrow, and Ralph will resume the inspection. He orders the knights to protect his children no matter what happens, as he knows that the knights protect the citizens, so he knows well what he asks of them. They swear to themselves to protect Osfi's family, as they can do it for the people. Now Nefertima is very happy and thanks them for helping her. Then she talks to her father, saying that she wants to go to Lioness with them. And her father agrees because she wants to involve the kobolds in her plan. Her father tells her that he has some matters to discuss with the elders, so she must go to rest. Nefertima agrees and asks Lars to go with her to take a nap. Her brother refuses because Lars is a holy beast, so she must take a nap with him instead. However, she insists that Lars should go with her, and her brother agrees that, indeed, Nefertima sleeps on her bed with Lars. Then she takes out the spider, Grathia, to sleep with them. Nefertima sleeps happily with Lars's soft fur because she wants to be rested for their journey to Linus. Tomorrow, in the morning of the next day, Nefertima goes with her brother and the prince on their way to Linus. The prince tells them that they should discuss Nefertima's plan again before they reach Linus because he finds it uncomfortable to repeat its name. Ralph then thinks for a moment and tells him about the name of the operation to negotiate with the monsters. His sister replies that it is silly for the forest, so he should not forget that the adventurers will play a significant role in the plan. Trituculus, the prince, asks them about the name Shiana. Nefertima does not understand the meaning of this name, so he tells her that in Celestia's language, it means strength and courage. Then he tells Nefertima that she is very loved by all the animals, so she must have a special gift and seems to have exceptional power. She replies that they all have special strengths because they are of royal blood, which makes them unique in a way. Then we shift to the scene in the Osfe house, where we see him with his daughter and wife. His daughter asks him about her sister Nefertima, so he tells her that Ralph will go with her there, so she is fine. His daughter gets very angry because Nefertima is only 5 years old, so it is very, very dangerous for her to leave the royal capital alone. Her father tells her that both the fire dragon and Lars and Hashaya are with her, so she is not alone. His wife asks him about Nefertima's plan this time, so Osfe tells her about the many monsters that appeared in their agency and that one of them is behind this matter and what Nefertima intends to do. Karina is shocked to hear about such monsters on Earth and continues to think about them. Her mother tells her that she looks like Kedley when she thinks about something evil. Then Osfe speaks, saying that she now knows that her daughter, Nefertima, wants to establish a sanctuary for all monsters. So she decides to start gathering supplies for the sanctuary and will contact several guilds to present the idea. Then she will choose promising individuals from them. Karina continues to think about what she will do to help her sister establish this sanctuary until she realizes that she can gather materials and prepare. She asks her father if she can go see Nefertima, making Osfe happy about that, but he tells her that the prince is with her now. Then Nefertima's father says security guards reach their maximum capacity. Her mother tells her, "Why don't we appoint personal guards from the Adventurers Guild?" It turns out that we received a message from Philip, so Karina rejoices, saying that I think the last time I saw him was at Nefertima's birth. The mother reads the letter, saying that he will come to the capital tomorrow and wants to see us all. Nefertima's father says that he was a close companion when he was an adventurer to gain combat experience. He was also one of the few adventurers with a purple rank, so he would be an ideal trainer for Karina. Karina is astonished, so her father tells her that in thinking about her future, she must undergo a monster subduing experience. Karina, relying on what her father wants, says that we end up being goals for this enemy. But it seems fun. Her father tells her that there are many risks outside the royal capital. Are you ready for that? Karina answers him, saying yes. I will face anything to become stronger so that I can stay by Nefertima's side. Her mother tells her to prepare everything she needs. Karina says I will do my best. Then the scene shifts to Nefertima, arriving in Linus. She asks, where are the kobolds? I want to see them now. Ralph speaks to her, saying to be careful to behave well. We don't know what might happen here. Nefertima responds, that's true. This is at the forefront of the battle against the kobolds chapter. After that, the knight speaks to the gatekeeper, saying that Prince Wilhert and the sons of Duke Osfe have arrived, and they request entry. The gatekeeper agrees to let them in. Then the knight tells the prince that the captain wants to greet him. Ralph tells them that they want to make sure it's really him. The prince says, I am confident that they are determined to protect their city. Ralph asks Nefertima to wait for them here, and Nefertima agrees, but uses her magic to spy on them inside. The scene then shifts to the prince speaking, saying I'll leave informally as Ralph's companion. He says this old man's name is Dylan. He is the head of the Bozov district office and a member of the First Fleet. But this area is dangerous because of the runaway kobold. You should leave as soon as possible, Ralph responds. We came according to my father's orders. I am monitoring the appearance of monsters on behalf of the Duke. The commander, Dylan, replies, then I will lead you to the agency's master. So the scene moves back to Nefertima, who is very happy with what she heard. Then Ralph says to the prince that he is pleased they trusted them quickly. After that, the old man, Bozov, appears and thanks them for coming here. He seems very tired. Then Ralph speaks, asking him what's wrong. Haven't you slept enough? But Bozov replies, in fact, we have faced a lot of challenges recently, so I haven't slept much. Nefertima wonders to herself, who is this old man? Is he the one whose rank was lowered and, more importantly, who decorated this room? He has excellent taste. Bozov speaks now regarding dealing with the kobolds. Tonight cannot keep up with them, so we contacted the Adventurers Guild. It seems they are forming an extermination squad and will arrive here as soon as Red Hilda arrives, the prince says. I think Hilda is still blue. Hilda, Nefertima adds. Even the prince knows about this party. They must be very powerful. This means they will eliminate all the kobolds immediately upon arrival. Regarding communication with the kobolds before their arrival, if there is enough time, it is permissible to wander around the city at that moment. Nefertima's brother Ralph speaks to calm her down and says that if we manage to explore the city fully, our report to our father will be better. Nefertima is happy with this decision. Then Prince Wilhert informs them about the meaning of being members of the Royal Knights, reassuring them that they will be fine. Upon giving a quick glance, the old man agrees to it, but on the condition that the tour be quick. After that, they move to the streets of the city and find it completely ruined. Prince Wilhert tells them that it's not as bad because the guard knights are still patrolling the area. Now let's head to the poor neighborhoods. As they go there, they find all the residents displaced, and all the children are suffering from malnutrition. The one responsible for this town should provide them with nutrition and support as soon as possible. Suddenly, Nefertima hears the sound of an animal screams, so the soldiers rush to find out what's happening. Then Nefertima orders Shinki to carry her, and they hurry to the source of the screams. They find these children torturing a dog and hitting it, and one of the children says that it doesn't concern them. Stupid strangers. When Nefertima notices that the animal was just a small puppy unable to defend itself, she gets very angry. The child tells her that his father said all dogs are enemies. So what's the harm in hitting an enemy? Nefertima replies that she's sure the dogs his father talks about are kobolds. But this poor creature is really your enemy, even if it's shameful to attack someone defenseless. This angers the boy, and he tries to hit Nefertima, but the soldiers stop him and hold him back. Then Nefertima tells him that we shouldn't resort to brute force immediately because true strength should be used to protect the weak. We won't resort to violence, so please hand over that poor thing. Then the other children move away from the puppy so that Nefertima can look at it closely, finding that it's severely injured and in need of immediate healing magic. Then she admonishes the little boy, telling him, "What do you want to protect? Isn't it you and those in the village?" The little boy is annoyed and says, "What do you know, foolish noble woman?" So Nefertima tells him that true strength is not just physical strength. It is, if you can walk the right path without resorting to cunning or cowardice and gain noble strength like these knights, you will become a great man capable of protecting what matters to you. That's the boy, Bulgar, son of the adventurer. Gycrios the Red gets very angry and introduces himself. He tells them that he will become strong, like his father, to protect everyone. Nefertima is very happy with him and promises to remember him. Then the boy leaves with the other children's health, then uses his healing magic on the little dog to heal its severe injuries. The dog wakes up and starts wagging its tail at Nefertima, thanking her. She asks where his mother is, and he looks towards the forest. Nefertima realizes that this means he's not someone's pet. Shinki speaks up, telling Nefertima that she seems not to have noticed yet, but that Puppy is a kobold. Everyone is shocked by this revelation. Then Prince Wilhert says they should return the puppy to its mother, even though it will likely expose them to a kobold attack. And even if we have it with us, they might think we kidnapped it. The little puppy then looks at Nefertima with a worried look. Nefertima reassures him and promises that everything will be okay. She then tells them that since Lars the Holy Beast is with us, the kobolds won't attack immediately, and then we can return the little puppy to its mother. The episode begins with Nefertima and her team strolling through the town, when suddenly Hilren stops and looks around, noting that it's noon but the bell hasn't rung yet. They all realize the significance of the bell not ringing and understand that it's a legal requirement. This leads them to suspect an emergency. Hilren expresses his feeling that the town is hiding something, although he doesn't know what. Nefertima asks him about it, and he explains that he's relying on his instincts for now. Nefertima thinks to herself that Hilren's instincts have helped uncover corruption before she asks him to investigate, while she focuses on current events in the town with the condition that he shouldn't rush. Just if anything happens, he should display the Opshe family emblem. She then reflects that she'll leave some loose ends for Lars to follow up on. After parting ways with Hilren, they check the town to return the rescued kobold puppy to its home and discuss the Shiana project with the kobold. They head into the forest to find its hiding place, unaware of the difficulty ahead. The scene then shifts to Néma and her friends in the forest, trying to return the puppy to its place. When they sense something approaching, Néma gets scared, but they find it's a small, gelatinous creature. They're amazed, as it's a famous monster known for its extremely moist body. Néma wishes to touch it to understand its texture, and it starts moving, indicating that it needs help. Shinki translates for them, revealing that the gelatin wants help for its weak companion. Up ahead, Néma asks her brother Ralph to go assist, and he agrees, promising protection if things go wrong. The gelatin leads them quickly, with Shinki and the knights following. When they arrive, they find something strange resembling jelly. One of the knights suggests it might be a form of giant gelatin, something they've never seen. Néma realizes that these colorful things inside it are small jelly creatures, and if all were born simultaneously, the forest would be filled with them. Néma runs quickly towards them and urges the gelatin not to give birth here, as the place is cold and dangerous. She tells them to wait until they reach a safe place. However, Will informs her that the gelatin can't move at all. It could give birth at any moment. He explains that once the gelatin becomes a mother, it becomes a parasite and can't move by itself anymore with its current size. It would only hinder them if they tried to move it. Néma feels saddened and unsure of what to do. Will reassures her that the gelatin won't eat her. It feeds on nutrients instead. He explains that due to the nature of gelatin, it's resilient against most physical attacks, and magic would likely fail. Ralph suggests it's better if Néma doesn't house the gelatin, but they think they can accompany it if it will protect her. Néma directs her conversation to the larger gelatin and expresses her concerns about housing it in her body. However, the gelatin reassures her that it won't cause any problems. Néma introduces herself, and then she names the gelatin Shizuko. An alliance forms between Néma and the gelatin as all the smaller gelatin creatures enter Néma's body. Her brother asks her how she feels after this, and she tells him she feels Shizuko inside her. Shizuko tells her that she will be the next mother to the small gelatin in front of her. Shinki advises that they must take her with them and find a safe place where she can gather her offspring. Then Néma thinks of a name for her and finally settles on the name Haku. She takes Haku in her arms. Then Will holds her and asks, "Is this the slime?" Néma thinks to herself that its texture attracts boys. The guard tells them they need to go soon to find the kobold. Néma agrees, saying they will go to find her. Néma talks to Shinki, saying something seems strange here. Will agree, saying there is something strange, but the scene remains the same. Then Will asks the tiger if it senses anything, but Will understands it and says that magic is not the only phenomenon and that living beings and spirits are not everything. Then she uses her magic, and Will asks her if she has figured something out. She tells him yes, but she's not sure. She suggests following Lars. She tells Shinki to wait here for a moment. Then they all go. Néma tells Will that if there's something related to him in the book she read, Will replies surprised that she remembers. Néma explains that's why they were circling around the same place. She believes they might know something about the Kobold. Deep in the forest, Néma mentions there's a sanctuary that only allows entry to those permitted. Then she sees a massive tree, remembering when it will read her the book, mentioning rare creatures evolving to live long lives and becoming guardians with special abilities. Then we return to reality once again. Néma says, "So you're the guardian of this forest?" Lars asks if she can approach him. Ralph reassures her and encourages her not to be afraid. Néma thanks him for always letting her do what she wants. Néma goes to the tree and says, "I'm glad to meet you, Forest Guardian. I apologize for all the trouble we've caused." The Forest Guardian replies, "No need to apologize, but you are indeed a unique group. You have a sacred beast, a child of kings, and some monsters. But who are you, little one?" She answers that her father holds our family title, so he can call her Nefertima. Only then the Forest Guardian laughs, saying, "You're a strange child. So what do you need from me?" Néma says they're looking for this little one's mother and asks if he knows the Kobold hiding place. The Forest Guardian asks what she will do when she finds it. She replies that she wants to return this little one to its mother. He apologizes, saying he can't share that information. The kobolds relentlessly chased humans until they were led to this forest, which was a terrible sight. Feeling sorry for them, he decided to hide them from humans. Néma admits she knows what humans did to them was terrible. She just wants to return this little one to its mother and negotiate with the kobolds. They're considering relocating them elsewhere. The Linus Agency plans to send an extermination team here, just if she continues to hide them. He warns that she and the other animals in the forest will be in danger. The situation is dire, and she doubts they can avoid a conflict between humans and kobolds. The tree, the guardian of this place, tells her that assuming they can't hide them forever and providing enough food for them is a significant problem. Néma wishes she could do everything she can for this little one and begs the tree, the guardian of the forest, to allow her to help this kobold return to its mother. She pleads with him a lot. At that moment, the forest guardian trusts her but warns her that if she deceives him, she won't leave this forest alive. Then the atmosphere changes completely, and strong winds blow. After that, it calms down. Néma swears she'll never deceive him. And indeed, the forest guardian allows her to go to the forest. He tells her that the spirits will guide her there. After everything that has been said and done, "Come to see me again sometime." Then, Néma rejoices greatly, and she thanks him profusely for that. Afterward, their progress becomes easier, and as they walk along the path, Néma informs them that the forest guardian mentioned there's not enough food for the monsters, and she believes this will also be a problem for the Shiner project. Her brother admits that they hadn't thought about that. Shinki is asked what imps eat besides fruit, and he tells her they eat anything. Néma wonders what kobolds eat, and her brother suggests they might eat rodents. This prompts Néma to think about crop cultivation. Suddenly, they hear Lars the tiger roar loudly and knocks. The bird also squawks. Then a large insect emerges, attacking them. However, Nox strikes it with his beak, causing it to fall to the ground. This insect is called a momoshi, and some are poisonous, which is why it was likely cautious. Shinki informs them that it's edible and has a wonderful taste when roasted. Néma is astonished by this revelation, and indeed, they start a fire and begin roasting the large insect. Shinki then gives Lars his share of the food, and also gives some to Nox. He tries to offer Néma a piece of it, but she's very disgusted by the insect meat. Her brother tells her not to force herself and reassures her that she'll be fine because she has Shizuko, so her stomach shouldn't be bothered. She begins eating and finds the taste of the insect to be delicious, similar to whitefish, along with the spider accompanying it. Prince Wilhert then takes a piece and mentions that it lacks flavor but can be compensated for with proper preparation. He then gives some to the rest of the soldiers and those with them who enjoy it greatly. Néma tells them they can likely use its shell for something as well. Then Will tells her that her Adventurers Guild or the Blacksmiths Guild could buy that from Mankey. Néma is very happy and tells Lars that she saw more of those insects, and that she'd like him to hunt them as well as the knights. She tells them she'll give them to the kobolds as a gift. Indeed, they start hunting those insects and find many of them. Néma says she feels the momoshi will be extremely useful for the Shiner project. Then they continue on their way, guided by the spirits, until they reach the location. Suddenly, the little kobold starts making noise. When they arrive, lights from the eyes of the monsters appear, and Néma tells them they've come with the blessing of the forest guardian to meet their leader. Shinki informs her that they say they don't trust them, Néma tells them they've brought a gift, which is the delicious momosi meat. Shinki relays that they say they'll speak to their leader, so Néma urges them to follow. They hurry after them, and Néma rides on Lars. They reach the gathering place of the kobolds, and Néma is overjoyed to see it, feeling it's like paradise. She thinks to herself that she wants to take all of it home and add it to her plan. But first they need to find the little one's mother. Then the kobold leader comes out and asks them what they want. Néma tells him she's happy to meet him, and that they've come to return this little one they rescued in Lenny's. Indeed, their leader finds that the kobold belongs to their herd. He asks why she went to the city, and the little kobold starts crying. The kobold leader then gets angry at those with her, asking why they lied. Shinki thinks it seems that some other puppies were left behind. Néma tells him to calm down and suggests smiling to gain their trust. Once their bellies are full, they'll discuss the matter. I appreciate you viewing my anime recap, Unruly Family. Please let me know what you think about Fluffy Paradise by liking, sharing, subscribing, and leaving a comment.
Take you